Dogman Declassified, the latest book from W.J. Brendel, Ph.D. Real reports. Consistent patterns, no clear answers. Take a closer look at the evidence. Available now.
Welcome to Forever Paranormal, where shadows remember and silence has a way of speaking. I'm Dr. Bill, your guide through the strange and the unexplainable.
And I'm Deb. Every week we dig into what hides between belief and proof. Cryptids, hauntings, witchcraft, UFO sightings, and the stories people swear are true.
We don't tell you what to believe. We just look at what's possible, what's been witnessed, and what refuses to stay quiet.
If you like what we do, follow, rate, and share the show. It helps keep the lights on.
And if you want to go deeper, step inside the crypt. Patreon members get the show ad-free a full day early and gain access to our entire archives, years of investigations, bonus episodes, and conversations we don't release anywhere else. You can join at foreverparanormal.com or by searching Forever Paranormal The Crypt on Patreon.
And remember that you're never alone. If you ever need someone to talk to, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is 988.
3 UFO crashes, 3 countries, 3 very different mysteries. One reportedly left behind unusual metal fragments. One triggered a search operation that authorities later downplayed, and one was witnessed by thousands and drew military attention. None has a universally accepted explanation. Welcome back to Forever Paranormal, where we know Natinak is more than a myth and where the veil is thin. Ghosts walk beside us, strange craft drift above us, and creatures move just out of sight. Every story is a door between worlds, and this week we step through 3 UFO crash cases from around the world that never received the attention of Roswell. Yet they continue to generate questions decades later. Well, hello there, my love.
Hello.
How are you doing this week?
All right. How about yourself?
Good, good. I know you've been working a lot, so it's good to see you have some time to do an episode this week. And I really appreciate that. But, you know, I don't know if you're getting excited about it as I am, but Raleigh Crypticon is only a few weeks away now.
Well,
So, what do you think? You ready?
not sure what to expect.
Oh, me either, but we're going to have fun anyhow. So what kind of strange did you bring us this week?
Well, I hate to sound like a broken record, but there are more files being released by the government, and I think that is overshadowing any new sightings or reports of paranormal activity.
Yeah, it is a little bit.
Well, frankly, I have become disinterested in those files, if that's a word.
Well, it is, but why so?
Well, because I guess I'm tired of hearing about it.
Oh, okay. Well, I kind of get that.
Well, how about this week you tell us about what you're working on these days, like any new books or articles?
Yeah, I've been working on a lot of books over the last year, and I've actually got 3 coming out 3 months in a row because I picked up another publisher. So I was kind of sitting on them. I've got I Was Not Satan coming out August 4th. I have The Devil on Nob Hill, which is a true crime from North Carolina, releasing on September 1st. Then I have The Ouija Board Murders, which is a true crime that is releasing on October 6th. So I'm kind of excited about all that.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot. But like I said, you know, I had to wait till I picked up a new publisher because I wanted somebody that didn't just distribute through Amazon. So it took me a while, but I got it. So I'm ready. I do want to say, though, you know, I'm not trying to bash Mo Publisher in any way, man. He was great. And they were great for me. And they helped me get started. And they really helped me out a lot. So don't take it as any kind of bashing at all. I don't think that's it. But, Deb, I do want to say, when people talk about UFO crashes, Roswell usually dominates the conversation, right? Mm-hmm. But what often gets overlooked is that similar reports have surfaced all over the world. We have different countries, different witnesses, and even different decades. This week, we're looking at 3 of those cases. Some involve physical traces, some involve searches that turned up nothing, but one generated rumors of military recoveries that still actually circulate today. Now, whether any of these incidents involve something truly extraordinary remains open to debate. What makes them interesting is that enough people witnessed something unusual that the stories never completely disappeared. Our first stop is in the Soviet Union in 1986. It's near the town of Dalnegorsk. I don't know if I'm saying that right or not. It's Russian. What do I know? Witnesses reported seeing a glowing red object moving across the evening sky before it struck a mountain known as Height 611. That's a weird name for a mountain, isn't it?
Yeah. So right away, that's different from a typical UFO sighting. Most reports end with the object flying away.
That's true, exactly. And according to witnesses, this one didn't disappear into the distance, Deb. It smashed into the mountainside. Investigators later examined the location and reportedly found evidence of intense heat along with small metallic fragments and unusual materials scattered around the site. Now, to be clear, nobody recovered a flying saucer or anything, and nobody recovered any alien bodies, well, that we know of, but the discussion centers on the traces that were allegedly left behind. Some researchers argued the recovered material displayed unusual characteristics, while skeptics, of course, countered that unusual doesn't automatically mean extraterrestrial. And honestly, that's a fair point. The strongest aspect of the Dalnegorsk case isn't what people believe happened afterwards. It's the fact that multiple witnesses reported the same basic event, and investigators actually found something worth studying.
So regardless of where somebody lands on the UFO question, there appears to have been an actual incident.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's how I look at it. The debate isn't really whether people reported seeing something. They clearly did, Deb. The debate is what that something actually was. Could it have been a meteor? Yeah. Could it have been some kind of military technology? Yeah. Could it have been something even stranger? Well, yeah. I mean, more than 40 years later, nobody has produced any answers that satisfies everyone. Of course they can't. And that uncertainty is one reason the Dalnegorsk case remains one of the most discussed UFO crash reports outside the United States. But our next case may be even more frustrating because in England, investigators reportedly searched extensively for evidence of a crash. The problem was they never found one. Our next case takes us to England in 1997. And in some ways, this may be the most frustrating story of the three. Not because there's too much evidence, because there isn't enough. The incident occurred in an area known as Howden Moors in South Yorkshire. During the night, multiple people reported seeing what appeared to be an object descending from the sky. Some witnesses described flashes of light. Others reported what sounded like an explosion. There were also reports of smoke rising from the moorland.
That sounds exactly like what you'd expect people to report if they thought they'd witnessed an aircraft crash or something similar.
Well, Deb, you're right. And apparently that's what many people believed had happened. But the reports were taken seriously enough that a significant search operation was launched. I mean, police became involved. Rescue personnel responded. Helicopters were even deployed. Teams searched the area looking for wreckage. On paper, this sounds like the point where investigators find the crash and start putting together answers, right? Except that never happened. Nothing was found. There was no aircraft. There was no wreckage. There was no impact site. Nothing that conclusively explained what witnesses thought they had seen.
That's the part that gets me. If enough people reported it to trigger a major search, then obviously they saw something.
I agree.
If it was a plane, you'd expect wreckage. If it was a meteor, you'd expect some kind of impact site or debris field. Whatever people reported seeing was physical enough to trigger a major search, but apparently not physical enough to leave anything behind, which is very weird.
That is very weird, Deb, and that's a great observation, and that's what keeps this case alive, really, because a single witness can be mistaken. A group of witnesses can still be mistaken, but then enough reports come in to convince authorities that a search is necessary? Well, it raises a reasonable question. What exactly prompted that response? Now, there are conventional explanations that have been suggested over the years. Some researchers have proposed that witnesses may have observed an aircraft, yeah, a meteor, possibly, military activity, yeah, or even a combination of unrelated events that became connected in people's minds afterwards. And honestly, that is possible. The problem is that no explanation has completely put the case to rest.
Sometimes the mystery isn't what people saw, it's why nobody can agree on what they saw.
That's a really good way to put it. The Howden Moores incident sits in that uncomfortable middle ground right there. There are enough reports to suggest something unusual occurred, but there isn't enough evidence to determine exactly what it was. And because investigators never found the smoking gun everyone expected, the story remains open to interpretation. Now, for some people, that's evidence of a cover-up. I don't know about that. For others, it's evidence that there was never a crash in the first place. Most listeners will probably fall somewhere between those two positions.
I think that's usually where reality ends up living anyway.
Yeah, most of the time it does. Somewhere in the middle ground, I have to agree. But our final case is different, Deb. Unlike Howden Moore's, this story wasn't built around a search that came up empty. It was built around reports that something actually came down. Something that was allegedly seen by large numbers of witnesses. And before long, rumors began circulating that military personnel weren't just investigating the site, they might have been recovering something from it. Our final case takes us to South America and to what may be the most controversial incident we're discussing this week. The year was 1978, and reports began emerging from Bolivia of a brilliant object moving across the sky. Witnesses described a bright, fireball-like object traveling overhead, followed by loud sonic booms that were reportedly heard across a very wide area. Unlike many UFO incidents, though, that involved only a handful of observers, this case quickly gained attention because so many people claim to have seen it. Some estimates place the number of witnesses in the hundreds, but other accounts push that number into the thousands.
Well, like you said earlier, 1,000 witnesses can still be mistaken, but they're usually mistaken about something that actually happened.
Yeah, Deb, and I think that's a very fair point there. Large numbers of witnesses don't automatically prove an extraordinary explanation. You're right. What they do suggest, though, is that something unusual had gotten a lot of people's attention at roughly the same time. The real question becomes, what was that something? According to many reports, the object appeared large, bright, and was moving fast enough to generate sonic booms. People described seeing it across the sky before reports began circulating that it had come down in a remote area.
That sounds a lot more dramatic than a typical light in the sky sighting.
Yeah, it does. And that's one reason crash stories tend to stick around longer than ordinary UFO reports. If someone sees a strange light and it disappears, well, the story just ends there. But if people believe something actually came down, well, the conversation immediately shifts to what investigators might find. And according to later reports, investigators did begin looking. Accounts vary depending on the source, but stories soon emerged that authorities were examining the area where the object was believed to have fallen.
Honestly, if people were reporting sonic booms and something came down, I'd expect an investigation.
Well, exactly. We don't know if it was a meteor, UFO, or whatever, and the investigation itself isn't the unusual part. Most governments would want to know what had entered their airspace and where it had landed. The controversy begins, though, when the conversation moves beyond the search itself, because that's where the recovery rumors start appearing. According to some later accounts, personnel may have located the wreckage. Other stories even go further, suggesting that something significant had been recovered from the area. Then came claims that foreign personnel may have become involved in examining whatever had allegedly been found.
I can attest that's the point where skeptics usually start checking out of the conversation.
Well, yeah, probably because there's also where the evidence becomes less clear. The original witness reports are one thing, the recovery stories are something else entirely. I mean, the further you move away from the initial event, the harder it becomes to determine which details are documented and which details may have been just added later. What's interesting to me is that crash retrieval claims don't sound quite as far-fetched to some people today as they really once did before. We've heard whistleblower testimony and even congressional discussions touching on the subjects. That doesn't tell us what happened in Bolivia, but it does change on how some people will actually view stories like this.
I imagine that's probably frustrating for both sides of the equation.
Well, yeah, I would think it is. People who think something extraordinary happened want more information, and people who think there's a conventional explanation often want stronger evidence. I mean, neither group really gets what they want.
Well, let me ask you something.
Uh-huh.
How much weight do you personally give eyewitness testimony in a case like this?
Well, quite a bit, actually. And it's not because eyewitnesses are perfect, because they're not. Memory can be flawed. People can misidentify things, right? Groups can influence each other. But I also don't think it's reasonable to dismiss large numbers of witnesses simply because we don't like where the story might lead. If hundreds or thousands of people report seeing something unusual, well, I personally think that deserves to be taken seriously.
Taken seriously doesn't mean accepted without criticism.
Yeah, Deb, you're right, but that's where a lot of discussions break down. People sometimes act as if there are only two choices. Either every witness is correct about every detail, or every witness is wrong. But there's more than two choices, because reality is usually more complicated than that. Maybe witnesses actually reported a real event, but misunderstood what they were seeing. Maybe they got some details right, got some other details wrong. Or maybe something genuinely unusual occurred, and we still don't know what it is.
That's the answer people hate, by the way.
Which one?
We don't know. Nobody likes that answer.
Well, yeah, you're probably right. People like conclusions. Mysteries don't always cooperate, though, Deb. And that's especially true in UFO cases.
What stands out to me when you look at all three incidents together is that nobody seems to agree on the explanation, but everybody seems to agree that something happened.
Well, yes, that's a very true and good observation. In Downagorsk, witnesses reported an object striking a mountain, and investigators reportedly found some kind of material worth examining. In Howden Moors, people reported a crash that authorities launched a search, right? Yet found nothing. In Bolivia, witnesses described a dramatic event that eventually generated stories of military involvement and even possible recovery efforts. The details change, the pattern doesn't. People see something unusual and questions follow. And answers, well, they remain elusive.
So, of the three, which one bothers you the most?
Well, honestly, I'd say Howden Moors.
Really, not the recovery stories in Bolivia.
No, it's like you said earlier, Deb. If a plane crashed, there would be evidence. If a meteor came down, there would be evidence. The thing that sticks with me is that investigators reportedly searched and came up empty. Well, that doesn't prove anything paranormal. It just leaves a question mark sitting in the middle of the story. What about you?
Probably Bolivia. Not because I necessarily believe the recovery stories, but because once you start talking about that many witnesses, I have a hard time believing the entire thing can be dismissed as nothing.
And that's really where I land in all three cases. You don't have to believe extraterrestrials were involved at all. You don't have to accept every recovery rumor or every witness account. But I also don't think it's reasonable to simply laugh off and dismiss large numbers of people who report seeing something unusual. Now, whether these incidents involve meteors, aircraft, secret technology, misidentifications, or something we still don't understand yet, they left enough questions behind that people continue discussing them decades later. Maybe that's the real mystery. Not whether something crashed, but why so many people in so many different places walked away convinced that something did. Well, at least until next time when we discuss another tale yet to be told. Thanks for listening to Forever Paranormal. Follow, rate, and share the show. It helps others find us and keeps the stories coming. Step inside the crypt for archive and exclusive episodes at foreverparanormal.com. And keep up with my latest books and research at wjbrendel.com. And until next time, remember, the veil is always thinner than you think.